Hey, Steve, you there, mate?
I'm absolutely here. Mark, how are you?
Oh, I just realized I've already cracked a can. I didn't realize I started a bit early.
Oh, that was quick. Yeah, you're supposed to keep that down out of camera view, right? So,
Yeah, whoopsie.
so people
I'm
take it
meant to
serious.
just be on water till halfway through, you know?
Yeah. So I noticed that you made a little public announcement here. I don't know if that's YouTube level public or
I
just.
didn't make any public announcement. Are you talking about the private MVP announcement?
Oh, yes, the private announcement. Not ready
Yeah,
for public
I have
consumption.
not made a public announcement as yet. I was just going,
All right, all right,
now there's going to be questions, aren't there?
all right. So I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag. Mark's switching to a green wig next time. Wearing a green wig in Scotland.
A green wig. Okay, I'm just popping my chat out. Have we got anybody on chat today? Do you want to introduce yourself
Yeah,
and
anybody there?
say
Say
hello?
say hello and revel in my new lighting, which is making my head look very shiny.
We're definitely live, right? Doesn't look like I've got anybody on my
Yeah,
side.
yeah, we're live. I see us out there.
Huh, here we go. Mary's there.
Yeah, now we got some folks
Miranda,
popping
yeah,
in.
hey, there
Hey,
we are.
everybody. Hey, everybody.
Ian's there. Jonas is there. I'm surprised Jonas hasn't started his own show yet.
Yeah, I think maybe he's trying to learn from us how not to do it.
Do you see that stream elements come up? Bot running?
Yeah, you're running a bot now.
No, I don't even know how that's getting in there.
I think it was something you were playing around with a while
I
ago.
signed up on a site a long time ago, and now it's up there. But like I've tried to find out how to disconnect whatever that bot is. That's the bot that bans Jonas every time he talks about the Gaylord Hotel that we're staying in 2 weeks' time. And
With all those gay lords.
yeah, I was surprised that's the name of the hotel in Orlando that a lot of the people are staying in for Summit.
Yeah, there's a Gaylord in Nashville also, and big. Have you been there before?
Mm-mm.
It is a massive, massive place, and it's all inside. So just this big, huge atrium that's acres. It's a crazy hotel, but typical Orlando, right? Everything's like over the top.
So you're saying this is where Summit is this time?
This is where Summit is. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
the
Now,
Extreme is at another venue nearby.
so why didn't they put them both in the same venue?
You got me. Maybe they're trying to keep them separate for some tactical reason.
That seems crazy because like all your exhibitors will be exhibiting at one, then exhibiting at the other.
Mm-hmm.
So like that seems really weird. I wonder if they couldn't book the whole venue or something. Because if you're saying it's at large, you'd think they would have just
Booked a part of it or something.
yeah.
I'm
Like
sure there must have been a reason.
when we were in Amsterdam this year for the combined Extreme and user group and Power Platform Summit, what they did was like the venue's massive, right? It's like big U-shaped building, and they just had the sessions for Extreme in one part of the complex, and then you have to walk way over the other side of the complex to get to the other part, you know?
Yeah, because they're not sequential. They definitely overlap some. And yeah, Jonas is saying that there was some
Oh, too big.
So
It's funny because I just thought you said it was a big ass venue.
it's massive, but I don't know how big the meeting space is. I mean, it's a massive.
Typical guy, eh? Talking about sizes and not knowing what he's talking about.
Hey. But at any rate, that's 2 weeks. That was one of the items on our run sheet was
What is it?
counting down to 2 weeks away, right?
Summit T-2, right? It's only
Yeah,
2 weeks out. So yeah, that's going to be a bit
Who
of
on
a trip.
who on the chat there is going to Summit?
Yeah, who's going to Summit?
Let us know if you're going to be there.
I think Jonas is going to Summit.
Yeah, he'll be easy to avoid though.
Oh, so you've kind of made me think that I might say my announcement now.
Oh, really? Well,
Yeah. Let's see if we get enough interest to hear my announcement in the chat, and then I'll decide if I should say it.
Yep, sounds good. And if
Jonas can't comment because he already knows what it is.
if nobody else gives a shit, I guess you just keep it to yourself, right?
No one cares. I'll keep it to myself.
Yeah.
They can find out on Twitter.
Exactly.
In a couple of weeks' time. Anyhow, one question that I had here. Let me just see if I can find it. Mary Thompson asked.
She's here too.
She's on. Yep. And she has asked, she says, tips on creating a user group in a suburban low-tech community. I'd like to build a bigger presence located between Atlanta and Charlotte. What tips or recommendations do we have in that scenario?
Is there anything between Atlanta and Charlotte?
I have no idea. I've never been to the gap in between, but just on that, what my suggestion would be, find a very, like, a small venue where it's almost around a coffee table, or maybe you could do it just in a cafe area, but it needs to be something that's really easily accessible to people. So that's what I would do. And I would just start with,
maybe like Starbucks or something?
I would start with the Power Platform Happy Hour. Now, and that's just come to mind, even though, like, I launched it in London. But if you check out on my website, the Power Platform Happy Hour, I just went to it 2 nights ago here in London. It runs every 6 weeks, and it's designed to be purely social until you get a community large enough to transition into a user group, right? Till enough people go, let's do a technical one. And the idea is we set a venue. It's a pub. That's just because everybody in London drinks. And we set a venue, right? And what happens? We don't tell the venue we're coming. In fact, just, it wasn't until the second time that I was there that I found that it was, the venue was a venue like that RuPaul would use, to host events. So it's become very flamboyant. They've started karaoke, bit of dress up, bit of drag queening and stuff like that. So, but yeah, we're back there this week. We've been going there on and off, plus a couple of different other places.
What do you do about your beard when you're in drag?
Huh?
What do you do about your beard when you're in drag?
So I wasn't in drag there.
There.
There, yeah, you like that. So, but all that happens, everybody pays for their own drink. It seems that each night we do kind of merge into getting a fish and chips or something like that, because it's pub food. So it's got all the standard things in London, pub food wise, which is all really cheap. It's in everybody's budget. Sometimes people buy a bottle of wine and share that, buy each other drinks, whatever. But it's a really good low tech way to get going, and it absolutely works. So I highly recommend that, go and have a look at the Power Platform Happy Hour. I've got it step by step, all the steps you need to do to set it up and run it. Very low key, very low tech. And it's a great way to start. And then once you've got a community, let's say you got about 20 odd people over time that's starting to come to that, I would then transition into maybe starting a user group of some sort.
I know a lot of the places around here, because I've been to some before, where if you have a group and you let them know ahead of time, they'll do some sort of a special for the group. Maybe like half price drinks for the first hour or something, because they just want people. They want to get people in their place and introduced. So can't hurt. I mean, you're not going to pick up the tab for these folks. You don't expect the bar to, but they'll do something, I think, to try and entice you to come to their spot.
Yeah. Okay, so that's that question answered. I think I might have had one other one here. Let me just check it. One more on the form submission. Okay, this one, the person wants to remain anonymous. He said, thanks for the opportunity, Mark and Steve. My question is the end user, from the end user point of view, what sort of licensing is required to access PCF controls, which is Power App Component Framework controls, on Dynamics 365 customer engagement online?
So he needs to send me $500 a month, and he'll automatically be granted access. As soon as he does that, he'll notice he can get right to anything he needs to do.
I didn't say it was a he.
Oh, she, whoever. Well, no, we know that Power Apps Control Framework is, it's just a UI building element, just like any of the other tools. There's no specific license for.
It's free, right? It's 100% free.
Yeah, I mean, it'll need to run on a product that's licensed. It doesn't do anything by itself, so you'd use it in conjunction with a product that would require a license. But the control framework itself, or component framework itself, which is funny because Hemet when they changed the name of that thing, which they did several times, right?
Yeah.
And ultimately landed on the Power Apps component framework, was telling me that we're not allowed to call it PCF anymore. And I'm like, yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. So according to Microsoft branding standards, PCF is not the proper term. But that's what everybody's calling it.
Okay.
So,
okay, I'm going to drop another question.
Trivia there.
Another question in the mix. I just dropped the link into the chat window that you can all take a look at if you wish. And Ken sent me this. I don't know if Ken, are you online today? Yep, Ken is online. Around Microsoft launches e-commerce tool as Amazon rivalry intensifies. First, rule number one, that's glamorous headlines, because I bet you Amazon probably didn't even read the article. Like, I don't think they feel threatened in the slightest by this. So I think the headline by, who is it, CNBC, is definitely attention grabbing. It is the commerce platform, so it's got nothing to do with Power Apps portals. Basically, my understanding so far, it's got to do with the F&O side of things, or F&O retail side of things. So it's a great announcement. I was saying before to Steve here, just before we started, that when Shan McArthur sold to Microsoft ADX Studios back there a bit, which is what ADX Portals is really coming from, I said to him, the next acquisition Microsoft need to make in this team is that they should go out and buy Shopify. Shopify is easy to use. You plug that into the common data service. I think you got a good story. It just works, Shopify. I mean, if I was going out, I wouldn't try to build it at this point. And a couple of reasons why I wouldn't get Microsoft to build it.
They built this one? Do you know if they built this one or bought this one? Was this one an acquisition, or was this one that they bought?
Tell me, how many commerce solutions have you seen Microsoft produce that are outstanding? Let's have a look at them. Windows apps on the desktop. No. AppSource.
Pinpoint. Wait a minute. What about Pinpoint?
AppSource. Pinpoint. Well, hang on. What was it? Right back in the day, it was called B Central.
Dynamics Marketplace.
B Central Business Web Service.
Yeah.
Microsoft Money. Honestly, I just think that it might not be their game at the moment. They're better to go and acquire something that's absolutely smoking hot and chuck it into the mix. Didn't you say Adobe's also getting into the commerce side of things?
So, but Adobe bought Magento, which I think is probably the biggest originally open source e-commerce platform. And
for $1.68 billion. I'm just reading that here.
Yes, that's no small. I mean, maybe that's why Microsoft decided to build one.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, Microsoft, certainly their new e-commerce offering is not any competition to Amazon, but they need to get in that space. They have needed to get in that space. I mean, I just thought they were going to get into it with some connectors to some of the more popular, like Shopify's and stuff like that. Sounds like they decided to go a little deeper. Like everything that Microsoft tends to build and launch and just announce, it won't be very good for a while. Certainly not going to compete with anything.
Yeah.
I mean, just like marketing, it's taken a while for marketing to get to a point where people would even look at it in a conversation versus HubSpot or something else.
Yeah.
But it'll be the same with commerce. It'll be a while before that does something. But hey, they all got to start somewhere, and at least they're started down that path.
Here's a question for you. Why was there no CRM 2.0? Why did it go CRM 1, CRM 1.2, then CRM 3? Answer that question for you, me.
If I had to guess, because that was before my time with Microsoft, I'd say 2 was a huge bomb.
No, here's the thing. Remember, 2 didn't make it to the light of day. They did 1, and that was released at the start of the year. 1.2 was released around Q4 of that same calendar year. 2 wasn't too crappy on us. Here's the thing, and talking to Aaron Elder, and this will come out of my podcast, there was a thing in the market that nothing from Microsoft should be trusted until version 3 was released. So they said, let's not even launch a version 2. let's just go to 3. So it adds to the marketing credibility. It wasn't that it was crap or anything like that. It was purely a marketing reason that they went to 3 because of this perception in market that nobody should touch Microsoft stuff till version 3 is released.
So what you're saying is they should have launched this new e-commerce platform as version 3.
That's it.
Just go ahead and skip right past that. Well, we didn't have a Windows 9 either, right? They skipped from 8 to 10.
Yeah.
They're trying to take
it was
some
interesting
distance
that he
maybe?
brought that up, because I asked him outright, why was there no 2? Tell us the truth. I said, tell us the truth. And that's what he came up with, and it just rolled off his tongue. So it doesn't strike me that he would make it up or anything like that. It seemed like that was the fact at the time.
But then we'll just all shift our expectation to, now we have to wait for version 5.
Yeah.
They're not fooling any of us. What else we got on our run sheet? What was some of the other things?
Okay. Back to run sheet. I haven't looked. Okay.
We gotta get through that.
AppSource goes on a diet. This is something you had said to Chuck on the run sheet. AppSource goes on a diet. What's that all about?
Yeah, I've been heavily engaged on a lot of the calls around the ISV AppSource motion and what's happening there. And right now we're into heavy recertifications. Everybody's got to get recertified. There's a lot of stuff going on there for ISVs that have been in AppSource. And, one of the things I've been complaining about for a year now and thought as soon as they started down this path should have been priority 1 was let's go yank all the apps that don't work. I mean, I don't have a problem with apps that aren't great, but there's apps that just wouldn't even install.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're finally going to get to that. So October 15th is the deadline.
What's that? It's less than a month away, isn't it? What are we on the 25th? Less than a month away.
Less than a month away to get you. And you've had plenty of time. This isn't new, but
no.
So our stuff's been recertified for, I don't know, 6-8 months by now. So there's been plenty of time. But in talking to someone on the team, they told me that they think over half of the existing apps have not gone through recertification. They've reached out to many of those ISVs about whether they plan to, and a lot of them said no.
Wow.
So on October 15th or thereabouts, apps that are not recertified are going to be delisted, which I don't believe means deleted. It just means they'll no longer be publicly visible.
So they're deleted from the site. They might still have access to the admin area at the back end, but they're gone, right?
I would assume they'd leave them, they'll be unpublished so that the ISV can go back in if they decide to and fix it and recertify, but they'll at least be out of public view. So you think about AppSource and you think about potentially half of the solutions in there just vaporizing overnight.
Yeah.
That's what I meant by going on a diet. I can't wait for that to happen because, frankly, the garbage in AppSource is part of what is killing the reputation of AppSource. They couldn't. What
worries me? What worries me is that if the numbers are low enough, that Microsoft decide to increase the grace period, because Microsoft in a catch-22 situation. If the store empties out and you go up there, and it's like there's been a rush before a cyclone, and the shelves are all empty, people are going to quickly about heel and out of there, right? There's nothing here. So Microsoft have got to weigh up walking into the empty supermarket or a supermarket full of stuff that looks busy, but nothing, it's all crapware.
It's going to be another test of Googs, because clearly when they first launched AppSource, because I remember we were one of the first apps launched in there.
Yeah.
They had a very high bar, but traction was going way too slow. Basically just eliminated the bar and to let anybody put any crap up there to fill it up and get numbers.
So who said that's not going to happen again?
Googs. So
it's absolutely not happening again.
I can't say it's absolutely not happening again, but I think his sense was that enough ISVs will recertify. And if they go through recertification, they are a quality, technically quality application.
Yeah, and they work with the new platform, right, for the latest version.
Yep. And that he would rather have, obviously every app in there be quality instead of quantity. So we'll see if he can hold up to the marketing side and what they may want to do there, but it certainly didn't do them any good at all to let it load up with shit. I mean, that has not proven to be, don't do the same thing again that didn't work before.
Yeah.
So I'm betting on him holding the line on that. And like you said, about half. So there's still been a reasonable number of ISVs, which kind of surprised me. I frankly didn't think it would even be half that would go through recertification based on the history.
Yeah.
But apparently enough folks are kind of like us. We're betting the farm on Googs that he's going to actually do something with this damn thing this time and our efforts won't be wasted. Time will tell. It looks like enough people thought the same thing, but a good riddance to the other half anyway.
Yeah, well, I'm a bit skeptical. I'm ready to wait and see what happens. I think we should do a recce up there and go, how many apps are in the store right now? Does it have a total?
You'd probably have to. I don't know if you could get a total or not.
I think I might contact Guido and see if he can use his little magic and
give me somehow give us a number
query against it and find out how many apps are in store. And then on the 15th/16th, because we'll give them a day's grace, find out how many are left. That would be a good little number to know, right? Because no one's going to tell you that.
Right. Yep.
We should do a little. Anyone want to volunteer to do that little bit of
homework,
reconnaissance, and research on the AppSource store and see what the date or how many apps are in there today, and then how many apps are in there after the 15th.
And, I think it's a positive. I mean, that could be probably spun both ways that, oh my God, AppSource just lost half the ISVs, or thank God, Microsoft just dumped
the shit.
I
mean, I'll spin it positively if they get rid of it. If the number is the same on the 16th, I'm asking questions.
Well, let me make sure I know that the 15th was the deadline. I don't know.
15th is definitely the deadline, because I know it happens while we're up in Orlando. I remember when it was set right back in March or something, that it was going to land the middle of the week or the week we're up there.
Hopefully they'll be tight on that. I mean, there's 2 calls a week on this ISV stuff, recurring call twice a week now to make sure everybody knows what the hell's going on.
Yep.
And hopefully they will hold the line. And 16th, I'd love to see that thing just drop down to nothing but quality apps.
Totally. Okay. I've got another question here from Ken. Ken's been quite prolific. He said, Mark, great podcast. Also caught your cast with John Levesque, which led me to question, maybe just for you and Steve. Oh no, it's me or Steve. In Dynamics 365 or the Power Platform, is there a career room to specialize? Meaning you are the flow expert or the D365 retail module expert. You will still know about D365 as a whole, but you focus only on 1 or 2 modules. Is that feasible? Now,
I think that's the only thing you could do.
Huh?
I think it's the only thing you can do, but go ahead.
100%. So I'm massively, on my 90-day mentoring challenge, I take people through this exact question as part of that process and saying, listen, you can no longer be a jack of all trades in our game. You need to focus and get really tight on your focus. I feel you need to know the Power Platform because they're the building bricks of pretty much everything else. So you need to have the fundamentals down for Flow, Power BI, CDS, and Power Apps, right? You've got to have the fundamentals in place, just like you always did across anything you built on the XRM platform in the old days. But then after that point, there's plenty of room for field service gurus that are absolutely deep in field service or unified service desk. I know people that just do unified service desk jobs. There's enough work around for them. I think
framework. We both know an outfit that does nothing but channel integration framework.
Yeah. So absolutely, the days of specialization are there. The only thing I'd say, you'd need to not be with a generalist partner, but a specialist partner if on that side. If you're consulting if you're freelancing, gobble it up. Absolutely become known for one thing and be absolutely awesome in that one thing.
Yeah, because, the opposite of that question is, can I be an expert in everything? And you can't. And you haven't been able to be an expert in everything for a long time.
Yeah.
When we look around at some of the folks that we know and guys like Antti, who clearly is all over field service. You got guys like Nick Dolman, who's,
owns
all
portals.
over portals.
Yeah.
We're definitely
seeing chart guy.
Matt Whitteman now is going deep dive on the insight stuff.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see where folks are planting a flag. I think probably the first pivot that I would have people think about is whether they want to go down Dynamics 365 or platform.
Mm.
It's separate, because I'm seeing those paths as getting much more distinct from one another. The one
They're definitely going like this, right? It's definitely going like this.
the one path of Dynamics 365 is you need a different skill set, I think, with all that starting stuff there around configuration, understanding what's there. If you're going to go down the platform side, you need a different skill set, because you're starting with kind of a blank slate. So it's two different styles, but even within either of those, if it's D365, field service expertise, PSA expertise. I'm sorry, Anti really is around PSA.
PSA is Anti's, yeah.
Yeah, and on the platform side, AI builders is going to be I think a big thing that somebody could certainly plant a flag and say, I'm going to be the AI builder.
100%. AI builders just going, anything AI is really up for grabs, right?
I think the risk is for a freelancer or even for a partner is if you get in too narrow a niche, then you could struggle a little bit. I mean, we're not in a partner to partner world in my mind. I don't think that has generally done what it's supposed to do. So we're all going to be out there for the most part talking to end customers, and customers don't understand the niches, and they think they want and need everything when they don't. But it could be that what they do want and need isn't your specialty.
Yeah.
And so that's the risk, is that you get yourself into a little bit too narrow a box. And yeah, you're highly skilled there, but now you've narrowed the end customer market to the ones that need that particular skill significantly. And you better be good at promoting yourself out there to where people know how to find that you're an AI builder expert, and people understand what that is, and they know how to find you. Or you'll just be an expert by yourself writing blogs.
Yeah. I just put a comment up there to please comment here with your favorite feature of feature released in Wave 2 this October. So the release, kicking off in October for Wave 2. What's your key feature in this new release? Do you have any, Steve?
In the pod that I did with Charles here 2 weeks ago, he kind of gave us some of his.
Yeah, what was his?
Certainly AI Builder.
AI Builder.
Was
so that's GAing, is it? AI Builder is GA?
Yep. The other thing that he seemed to be very happy about was the top 10 issues that people had around things like UI, that they made it a point to go and attack the top 10. And he was very proud of the fact that he felt like, we've knocked them out. We've knocked out those 10.
Yeah.
And that when you look at the unified interface side by side with the October features turned on, it's subtle but significant. The changes. So I think that's probably, AI Builder, cool, and some of those things are cool, but I'm really happy about the UI tweaks. I think because that's what users notice. You know what I mean? They notice that every day, every time they open a view, every time they open a form. Yep. Every time, they're doing that all day. That's going to be the noticeable, more than this AI Builder new thing they need to go out.
Oh, absolutely. It's the bread and butter of the game, right? The way the UI performs. It's interesting. Oh, right now, isn't the Power Platform 24-hour thing running at the moment?
Did that start?
Isn't that today? I think it is today. Anyone know in the chat whether it is the Power Platform 24-hour, whatever it's called?
24 hours of power?
Yeah, 24 hours of power. Yes, it is now. There you go. So anyhow, I was one of the presenters asked yesterday before presenting in this if he could run past his presentation past me.
Right.
That I do it at a critique. He was one of my mentees in the past 90-day challenge. He's a speaker at this, and he did his all on compliance of the new compliance around the interface and the standards for usability and meeting the global standards. And it's impressive how far Microsoft has come from the web interface or the classic interface to now around compliance for people with disabilities. It's really impressive, the leaps and bounds that Microsoft has come on with the new UI, something that I don't pick up because obviously I'm not using it all the time. But he gave examples after examples between the classic experience and the new one, and how usability has, now been really inherently built into the application.
I think it's kind of hard to give Microsoft credit for that, because I would expect that to be lax from small companies, but from Microsoft, I would expect that to be automatic and just built from the beginning, and not
it wasn't. I work with a lot
I
of
know,
government
that's why
agencies, and
they
this was
get
the
credit
biggest,
though now for
the
coming
biggest
back.
battle we had was
It
this stuff.
should have been there from the jump.
Yeah.
They're too big a company to have this now as this late afterthought. But I think that's part of the Satya versus Ballmer days too. That switch. What else we got on our run sheet?
We talked about starting a local community. AppSource goes on a diet. Best features in October release we've now covered. You mentioned COE. What were your questions around Center of Excellence?
Yeah, I thought that there could be something interesting there, and I know you've done a little bit of background on that. I mean, Microsoft knows to get Power Platform adoption in enterprise.
Yeah,
they're going to have to do something to get enterprise comfortable enough with that. And I remember hear us talking a while back about their decision to make Power Apps available to all users by default.
Yep.
And giving the admins the ability to go turn that off. And I was adamantly against that, but I think they felt like, well, if it's off by default, admins will never turn it on, and they're probably right.
Yep.
But I don't know what, if any, fallout has happened from that, but clearly that Centers of Excellence idea, which it's a program, right? I mean, it's assets, it's a whole program for an enterprise to bring on or potentially partners to consult on or implement or.
Yeah. So you see here, this is what Microsoft says. The responsibility of a COE typically fall into these four buckets: administration and governance, nurture, support, and operations. And so what they have done, they've brought out, I'll put the link here in chat. This here is a link to a COE starter kit. So you can establish a center of excellence within your business. And they've got a bunch of resources there that they're going to continue to add to, that allows you to develop your strategy as a company. So there's quite a bit of content there on that page, well worth drilling into if setting up a COE. Now, interestingly enough, in my former company in Australia, our entire division was called a COE, a Center of Excellence. And that's how we went in. So we're part of a big consulting crowd, but we were the Center of Excellence for business applications. And
a center or the center?
The center.
We are the Center of Excellence.
The center.
Fair enough. Marketing.
Yeah. So it's a term that's been around for a while, but they're obviously standing up this idea. And where I've seen it work so effectively, and where I say where I've seen, just for chats with Manuela when she worked at Virgin Atlantic, and even Heathrow Airport here with Summit, it's that, they've gone in and they've definitely established these Center of Excellences that allow them to engage with subject matter experts in the business and bring them in to like an app in a day inside the business and say, if we could build whatever bit of software would solve your key problems, what would they be right now? And they go prototype it out across a day within the company. They often do them as offsites and stuff like that. And then, get the kind of the working concept together, designed by the subject matter experts, not the tech experts, and then take it away and build it and complete it out as an application. Interesting.
A whole concept that really couldn't even exist before Power Apps. I mean, there wouldn't be a Center of Excellence around Dynamics. So it had to be Power Apps. It has to be citizen developer level. Mm-hmm. I'm curious if anybody on the call has looked into either potentially offering center. It feels like there's a partner opportunity there for
to become like an app developer.
No, more like an outsourced Center of Excellence operation. I mean, some big enterprises, I'm sure, could put a department to it, but it almost feels like the same concept would apply to companies of a lot of sizes and could potentially be an outsourced offering from a partner that, we will run your center of excellence for you.
Yeah.
I've looked at it myself, but decided, it sounds like too much work. But
yeah, I mean, it's something that it's something you can't do ad hoc, right? You've got to commit to, okay, if we're going to run it for customer, we need to be running, one of these a week, and you've got a team that can scale and run them, because you're not going to get good if you do one every 3 months, right? 4 for the year, like, forget it. It's like,
got to be very programmatic.
Yeah. It's got to be systematized, programmatic, that type of thing. One of the other things I want to discuss was, can an SI become an ISV?
I hope so.
And I tell you why I'm thinking this. I was just on a call to somebody in Australia in the last week. Was it Australia or New Zealand? Might have been New Zealand, but they're talking about Australia. And they're talking about one of the biggest GSIs out there. They weren't working for that GSI. We were just chatting about them. And they were saying the amount of IP that this GSI has, but they have no concept of how to turn them into ISV solutions and ramp up a division that goes and sells IP, basically pre-built apps, without selling the services associated to them. It's just, for most SIs, that there is something they cannot get their head round. That, I've seen the model where they go, oh, listen, what we'll do is we'll use our bench resources. If anyone's on the bench, we will use them to develop our IP. It doesn't happen. An ISV has to be treated like a standalone business. So if you're going to run it in a company, I would even suggest you come up with its own brand for that sub-department in the company, its own public persona that's, part of your company, but has a public persona.
You mean like Rapid Start, for example?
Huh?
You mean like Rapid Start, for example?
Beautiful, beautiful, right? And it's not like you're going to miss out on the SI work, because what's going to happen, right? It's like a game of rugby. The forwards are going to pass to the backs. Your forwards are landing the deals, getting the IP sold. You're making your money there. You're getting your recurring revenue if it's a SaaS-based solution. But that customer is going to need ongoing work done. You hand it back to the back team, they take it and they do the SI work. They add all those unique things that unique business needs on top of the IP that you've built.
We went that path, or we've been on that path for several years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we launched the first Rapid Start publicly at 2015 WPC. So we've been on after at least that long. And,
wow.
And I'll guarantee you that I have stepped into every single pothole that anyone could step in down that path. I have wasted more money than I have made so far in motions to make that transition. And definitely, I mean, the easiest part's having a good idea. Frankly, that's the simplest part. Seeing a problem and having a solution to that problem is the simplest part of the whole process.
Yeah.
Doing it with bench resources will take you forever.
I don't think it can be done. I honestly do not think it can be done. Jerry Weinstock's the only person that I know of has done this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't scalable. Yes, he made a bit of money, but it wasn't scalable by any means. And you need to have scale, I think.
If bench resources are working on IP, it's because you don't have enough billable hours for them to work on, and then you got other problems. So
yeah, exactly.
It's been a struggle for us also for years to really try and separate those two jobs and not use bench. We have dedicated people focused on that stuff.
Yeah.
Also, I think that, and this would also be completely relevant to whatever kind of IP you're building. I mean, there's IP out there, and there's companies that we know out there that have built solutions that don't do any SI services at all. They built a particular solution, solves a great problem, and that's their business model, and that's all they do. And they just, continue to iterate on that with versions, and that's good. I had the idea with our IP that we were going to build a simple to use solution. People would just use it.
Yeah.
And that, I had this dream that I wasn't going to do any SI. I mean, I was just going to sit there. We're going to focus on nice little IP, and people are going to pay us every month and leave us the hell alone. And that doesn't happen. Everybody's different. Everybody needs something done with that stuff. So what are you laughing at?
I just love the terminology used there, that you use this terminology, I had a dream. And that led me to just scroll down through my blog and go to, where did I do it here? I did this post called the Power Platform ISV Business Series, Your Core Team. And in that post, let's see if I've got it here. Here it is. This is what it says. Decisions to be made around owner. Okay. However, you know the story. Ray Kinsler, I think his name was, a corn farmer in Iowa. While walking through his cornfield one evening, he hears a voice that whispers, "If you build it, they will come."
Yes,
I've heard that story many times in the software industry,
out of it.
and it's just plain untrue. People will not come when you build shit. They will come when you market the shit you build and you sell it, and you have a sales rhythm as part of it. But they will not just turn up because you've got the best freaking idea or bit of IP or solution. It comes down to a good, I feel it's almost like a good sales rhythm first, followed by a good marketing rhythm once the sales has been proven.
I think you're much more successful if you have good marketing of crappy IP than bad marketing of great IP. You just be much more. I mean, marketing is the key to all of it. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, I know lots of solutions out there that do quite well that are really crap.
Yeah.
And then you sit there and you got your team focusing on some little aspect of your IP, trying to make it perfect, and you walk away thinking, "What the fuck are we doing?" You know, yeah. I mean, this is not going to matter a whit out there in the world. It's the marketing, it's the perception of what you can get people to talk about.
Yeah.
I see somebody, Jason, there's talking about, I think, kind of looking out of the corner of my eye.
So
that was another idea that I think SIs have, is that we built all this custom stuff for these customers. We just need to go package it up.
Yeah.
Well, they never do. They never get around to packaging it up. And the idea that some custom, when we see it all the time with our SI projects, man, we need to take that component and extract that out and make it IP.
Yeah.
That's effort to do. It's not like it's just, pluck it out. There's some effort to make it a freestanding piece of IP. And then to your point earlier, I mean, if your first thought is there's something cool that we built, let's go see if we can sell it. Well, then you're thinking backwards.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at Jason Fried's book, which is what Jason's talking about, their rework, in that book, Basecamp was the output of that. And ultimately 37 Signals went away. Why did it become Basecamp? Because yes, they needed a project management tool, but then that became their business. Yeah. Because that's now a multi-billion-dollar valued business that Jason has. Built it with 9 people spread all over the world. His byproduct became his main product. And I'm 100% believer that SIs should take their byproduct and turn them into products. The problem is you can't use an SI business model to produce the byproduct model and go to market with it. They're 2 different business models. One's an SI business, one's an ISV. They need to be set up differently. One of the things that Microsoft Consulting Services do, they actually KPI. There's a measurement, a performance-based measurement for every consultant. And last count I heard, Microsoft has over maybe 25,000 people in their consulting services division. So this is in Microsoft Consulting Services. Yep. And every single one of them has a KPI to extract or harvest IP legally, right? Sure. To take IP out of what they're building for a customer and then hand it off to another team that can turn it into a reusable asset in some way.
I mean, we've got specific language in our contract that says that we reserve the right to all IP that we build, even if the customer's paying us.
Yeah.
Customer gets they
get their copy of it.
They get their unlimited perpetual license. They could use it forever. And every now and then, some customer will say, wait a minute, I'm not going for that. Well, and then in that case, you're going to have to pay me more, even if there's no potential IP opportunity on the other end of it. But I'm going to go into all the last thing I want to do is find ourselves building all this stuff for a customer and then not being able to utilize it for myself.
Yeah.
You could say, well, the customer paid for it, but that's how it works. They paid for it. And my agreement says I can use it. But it's interesting how many of those kinds of IP projects, those components of bigger deployments, end up littered around half built, half
Yep.
finished, and never get around to kind of finishing those. Because the other thing I think today, particularly in the IP space, is speed. If you don't move fast, whatever idea you got, by the time you fiddle fart ass around and go build
Yep.
something or and get ready to launch it and think, oh, I'm gonna own the market on this, and you go launch it and then you realize there's 3 other folks out there doing the same damn thing.
Yeah.
You got to be really, really fast.
You got to be tight. You got to manage the entire process end to end.
Better to be fast than good, because you can always come back and iterate.
Yep.
You want to be first to market with whatever the hell IP solution or whatever you're trying to do. You want to be first, fast, loud, iterate later. Don't be the company that's sitting there trying to make the perfect solution, because by the time you get that thing, I mean, that was a challenge for me early on. I was like, no, it's not good enough to release. No, I want to see this thing. And in the meantime, there'll be people out there launching shit and getting market share and fixing it.
What you said there reminds me of a book I read back a bit. It says and this is the title of the book. It's not the big that eat the small. It's the fast that eat the slow.
Yep.
How do you speed as a competitive tool in business?
Hard, very hard. It's a very difficult thing to do, especially for that SI looking at IP. I mean, they're just, I mean, it's always a side project. It'll never get the resources to be fast, and they're always going to be late to market. And everything should start as version 3.
I like it. Okay, our final topic on our run sheet was in-game speculation. Now, how this come up is I was having a conversation with Scott Doro. We're having a little chinwag around this. We've seen that Charles Lamanna's title, he's become a CVP of
Citizen Application Platform, CAP.
Of CAP, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the question. Is the Power Platform going to outgrow business apps? In other words, does Microsoft have a bigger game in play here that is much more around a low-code development platform that really in the organization would sit more under Scott Gu than necessary in the biz apps arena? In other words, just like your Visual Studio tool sets or Azure App DevOps, those type of the whole application, the whole developer application. Now we've got the citizen application. Is it going to outgrow business solutions or the business applications division of Microsoft and become a full developer tool of the future in the next 5 years, 10 years ahead? And that it's interesting speculation.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a direction being set here in where they're going. And when they talk about their empower everyone, they're not talking about everyone that needs a business application. Yeah, they're talking about everyone. I think in order to get to that leap off point, the tools which right now we're calling citizen developer they need to get to a point to where consumers would use them also, that anybody would use them, that it's not just business application needs or businesses, but a huge part of Microsoft's market out there is just individual users of their products, and getting them into that space, which is going to take more work than just getting it to where professional citizens can do it. But clearly, if and you heard Charles, I mean, reiterate again that mission statement, empower everyone, not just developers, not just line of business owners, everyone.
Yeah.
And that's a ways off. They got some work to do to get there. Now, whether that kills off Dynamics 365 in the future, I don't know. I think there certainly is going to always be corporate requirements that are going to need business applications of some kind.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. I'm more excited about where the Power Platform, ultimately its trajectory pivot.
And I think step one for them, which is what they're doing now, is let's make sure the Power Platform goes across everything we have.
Yeah, CDS gets plugged into everything.
Yeah, and it's across Office, it's across Word, it's across business applications, it's across ERP, it's across Azure, it's across everything. And it becomes the common thread that they've never had that ties everything they have together. Xbox, I mean, it's a common thread ultimately that ties all these pieces together that they've had.
Do you think we're going to see SharePoint on CDS?
Sure. I mean, why wouldn't you? Yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, there's some big boulders still to move there, but it's interesting because I haven't messed around with SharePoint in quite a while, but I know there's a huge community out there of SharePoint. Probably
absolutely,
probably way bigger than BizApp's community. Out there of folks that are using that, and I do wonder what the convergence of this is going to be. I mean, right now we're linking to it or displaying it or doing things like that, but. And Flow can talk back and forth, so you're starting to see those little bridges, but those bridges are only required because they're not all on the same underlying platform, right?
Yeah,
that's going to be an interesting ride to watch. But clearly, Charles is going to be a guy to keep an eye on. That title is specific for a reason. It's aimed at that future state. Like you said, speculating on the future state. Some of it's fairly clear, at least what they want to do.
Yeah.
Whether they succeed and how long it'll take is another question.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well,
what else have we
got? We've covered our topics.
Oh,
hang on, Jonas has a prediction. Serum MVP podcast recorded at Extreme last year. CDS will be the #1 data store, outgrowing classic SQL Server. I love it. It.
I do remember that. And I think one of my predictions then was that Dynamics for Marketing would be outselling Click Dimensions. So he was right and I was wrong.
Yeah.
Once again, Steve was wrong.
Yeah. I mean, another valid point there. There's a lot more SharePoint community workers with Power Apps and D365 folks. Absolutely. Power Apps, the Canvas version,
came from there.
Okay, it had its origins there.
Flow as well.
But in that environment, it was Power Apps that had no CDS backend. And I think that what I'm seeing from Microsoft, they want the back end of all Power Apps. Not all of them, but a great the bulk of them will be ultimately on CDS. That's the way I'm seeing their kind of steer going, rather than the origin story of starting in SharePoint and SQL-based Power Apps.
Oh, yeah. I think James Phillips just went out and stole it.
No, Jonas, I agree with you, mate. I agree with you on that SQL Server front, classic SQL. That's what I'm saying. Could SharePoint be running on it ultimately on CDS, as well as a great many other things? I think if you look at that latest architecture model of what CDS is, it makes sense. Microsoft give an API. You can do whatever you want within the rules of that API endpoint, but then behind the scenes, they're going to load it up with the best way of doing anything based on what's working around the world, right? Don't worry what's going on in the box. We'll just make it the most proficient, highly available, most secure, trusted platform on the planet.
Yep, I generally avoid getting into deep conversations with people like Jonas that are way smarter than me. That's why I was willing to do this podcast with you.
I love it. Have we got any other questions from the floor? And how many of you are coming to Orlando in 2 weeks' time? Oh, sorry. Siri's talking to me. We're doing if you haven't already heard, we're doing a pub quiz to test people's knowledge of the origins of so many different things, as well as some of the latest new feature drops, etc. will be in our question list. I know Jonas has a team in there. From Sweden, I see a Canadian team has entered. Another one out of Virginia area I see has entered. A few more are coming through. I'll put another blog post out that'll go out later today, tomorrow, sometime like that. I can't remember what the schedule is. Once again, seeking any other punters that want to get into our pub quiz, because that's going to be entertaining. I think
It's
it'll
a
be
pub quiz without alcohol, but we did at least get
No,
it.
there
just
will be
before
alcohol.
the-
Now we've had it moved to the end of the day. I'm pretty sure we're having alcohol.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was originally around 11 o'clock, and I said that's not going to work, and had it moved.
Yeah,
and of
not
course,
the pub.
we're going to be live streaming from the event. So Steve and I just had the whole backdrop that they've designed for us sent through this last week.
Looks
It's
very
looking
nice.
good. If you want to, if you got something intelligent to say, come along, and we'll do a 10-minute video with you as in live on this live stream at that event. But we're going to get a lot of Microsoft folks on that, of course, as well. And we'll be aiming to stream pretty much every 15 minutes. There'll be a new feed go up. So I'm going to set up the channel so that there will be basically 4 shows an hour, but then the show will only run for around 12 minutes max within that. So there'll be 4 an hour for the entire.
That's the first I'm hearing of that. Are we figuring out the format here live of what we're going to do out there?
No, I've figured it out.
I'm a little concerned about you're limiting it to people that have smart things to say, because that, we got a lot of slots to fill. We might have to lower the bar a little bit on that, but it is going to be fun. I mean, we're going to have a nice backdrop. I don't know anybody that saw us at Business Applications Summit. That was a little bit of a last minute hacky put together. This one, that went so well that now we've got a lot more support ahead of time and a lot more planning, and I think the setup will be much better. The audio will be better. All that, everything's going to be good.
Well, we were invited to do this one, right? Last time we were selling the idea. This time we got invited to go along and include this in the show. So that's going to be fun. Anyone want to know my news?
Let me before you do that, one last thing that I forgot last week when somebody was asking about how to market, maybe it was Mary, was asking about how to market their solution to partners. And after the end of that episode, a buddy of mine reached out and said, hey, you could have mentioned me. I want to make sure I do that. MS Dynamics World, Jason, great guy. And he told me he's got like I think 70,000 followers.
Wow.
That he's
built. That's amazing. That's a massive number.
And he's got lots of programs and lots of things available for people to get their stuff in front of that community.
Yep.
And a good guy. I mean, it's money-making operation, but you're going to pay somebody.
So, it's a business, but MS Dynamics World, it is, right?
MS Dynamics World, and definitely a good guy and a good source for, kind of, if you're going to spend some money to get some word out, he's got some of those ears that you'd want. So I told him I apologize for forgetting to mention him and that I would. So there I did. So what's your news?
Okay, there we go. I've dropped his URL into the chat session as well for that. So you want to know my news? It's like there's nobody interested. Perhaps I'll just leave it.
I already know your news.
You know my news. Oh, I feel like such an anticlimax now.
Yeah, I was going to say the news ain't that big. I mean, it's big for you, but it's not going to change my world, for example. Well, it might.
No, forget it. I'm not saying it.
Let's leave them all on. Now it's really going to be anticlimactic when it comes out. You can put so many cliffhangers around it.
I'll put it on Twitter in a couple of days.
Yeah, there you go. All right, cool. We're getting at the end of our time here, and yes, it is not the wig.
It's not the wig.
Not the wig. Mary wants to hear.
Okay, I'm leaving.
He's leaving. Leaving the channel. He's going to work for Salesforce.
Yep.
When do you start work for Benioff? You're going to be Benioff's butler or something? What did you say?
Yeah, that's it. Shortboard butler. No, what am I doing? I am leaving the United Kingdom after 18 months of being here. I am moving to New Zealand, so the bottom of the world, in November. So I've got about 5 weeks left here, and then I am off.
I just heard a small round of applause from the UK.
Classic.
So looking forward to getting home, huh?
Yeah, it's been 7 years since I've lived in New Zealand, so it's been a wee while.
Yeah.
So it means this type of event, we might change the time slightly, but it means that I'll get up in the middle of the night to be on there.
Yeah, I thought we said we weren't going to change the time because this works so well for everyone else in the world except for New Zealand.
Thanks, Mary. We might move it to later in I want to hit the US time zone, but might make it later so it's more accommodating to the West Coast as well.
Yeah, starting at 11 here, that's 8 o'clock West Coast time. So that's first thing in the morning, West Coast folks. So we could certainly shift this thing, but I think the farther
we could make it bear o'clock for your time. What would be bear o'clock your time?
At bear o'clock my time, well, we'd have to add 6 hours maybe to the starting time.
Yeah, depends what that does for Seattle.
Maybe we ought to throw out a poll and see what people think about a good time.
Okay, we'll do that. Thanks, everybody. It's been great to have you on here again. Hope you found that valuable. If you're watching this podcast in playback, feel free to leave any comments because we will still look at those and answer those. If you've got questions, make sure you let us know. Otherwise, we'll be back next week. And then the week after, is it week after Orlando? Or have we got 2 more of this and then Orlando?
Orlando's the 11th, so 2 more.
Yeah. 2 more.
2 more, and then
like
we'll be in Orlando.
Then Orlando.
Cool, man. Mark.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.